Hey guys, tonight we slip into a time machine of sorts. Though not the shiny chrome one you might be picturing from a sci-fi movie. Instead, imagine simply closing your eyes. And when you open them again, you're breathing in the raw, unfiltered air of Earth as it was 300,000 years ago. It hits your lungs differently, sharper, colder, almost metallic. As if it carries secrets you probably shouldn't know. You cough once, then twice. Because, let's be honest, your modern lungs aren't really built for this. You probably won't survive this trip. But let's pretend you can, just for the sake of the story. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Go ahead, post your location and your local time in the comments. I'm always amazed at where you guys are listening from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you notice is silence. Well, not silence exactly, but a kind of emptiness. A soundscape that lacks the mechanical hum of cars, planes, and your neighbor's dog barking at AM instead. The air vibrates with distant bird calls, the rustle of unseen creatures in tall grasses, and the sighing sweep of wind across vast plains. You turn slowly in place, your shoes sinking slightly into soil that hasn't known pavement, concrete, or tire tracks. The horizon stretches forever, broken only by scattered trees that seem to lean under the weight of time itself. Mainstream science tells us that around this era, Earth sat in a warm interglacial period, long before skyscrapers or smartphones, an age when Homo sapiens were just beginning to make their entrance. Yet it doesn't feel like an early chapter of your story. To you, it feels like another planet altogether. You inhale again, the air tinged with the smoky aftertaste of a recent wildfire. Lightning storms often ripped across the sky, igniting vast blazes that cleared forests and created the sweeping grasslands around you. Quirky detail. Ancient people might have stumbled upon charred animals after such fires, discovering by accident that cooked meat was easier to chew and far tastier. Imagine someone biting into a crisped mammoth rib, like it was history's first barbecue. But for now, the fires are long gone, and the air smells raw, thick with life and decay. You crouch low, brushing your hand across coarse grasses, each blade damp with dew. Somewhere nearby, the earth trembles faintly. You freeze. The sound grows a deep thudding rhythm, like drums played by giants. The ground vibrates beneath your fingertips. It's no storm. It's movement. Herds of creatures are passing, and you realize just how small you are. Historians still argue whether the skies looked bluer then, or if atmospheric dust from volcanic eruptions sometimes painted everything in reddish haze. Either way, when you tilt your head back, the sun feels hotter, harsher, even though the air is cool. No sunscreen bottles here, though if you remember that crocodile dung sunscreen trick from Egyptian times, you might be tempted to improvise. Probably not a great idea. Your ears catch another sound, a sharp cry, bird-like but guttural, slicing through the air. Something with wings, larger than a hawk, circles far above. Its shadow skims across the grass, and instinctively you duck. You're a stranger here, and every sense in your body screams that survival means staying low, moving carefully, and never assuming you're at the top of the food chain. The ground shifts again beneath your feet, but this time, it's not a herd, it's your own knees wobbling. You realize hunger is already gnawing at you. You glance around. Where's the nearest supermarket? Oh, right about 299,999 years in the future. Your dinner now would be whatever you can pull, pluck, or chase down as you kneel. You notice roots poking through the soil, gnarly and knotted. Some of them could feed you if you knew which wouldn't poison you first. Early humans did this balancing act daily, tasting, testing, sometimes dying for the sake of trial and error. Imagine volunteering as the first taste tester. Hey guys, if I keel over, don't eat this one. Rough gig. The sun edges higher, and you feel sweat beading on your forehead. The air is thick with moisture, and gnats buzz lazily around your ears. Swatting them only seems to invite more. You stumble forward, your shoes snagging on roots. And it occurs to you that even the ground feels more alive here, as though it's plotting your downfall. Maybe it is. And yet, amid the danger, there's beauty. Flowers bloom in colors you don't quite recognize, purples too deep, yellows almost blinding, reds that look as if they were painted fresh this morning. The scent drifts toward you, heavy and intoxicating. You pause, allowing yourself one moment of stillness. This earth is brutal, yes, but it's also breathtaking. You press onward, the air growing thicker. Every breath a reminder that this is not your world. Still, you walk on, because curiosity always outweighs fear, at least for now. The thudding of unseen giants fades into the distance. The bird's shadow vanishes, and the silence returns, wrapping around you like a blanket that's both comforting and unnerving. What you don't know yet is that this is only the beginning. The first hesitant step into a planet that will test you, teach you, and maybe even trick you into admiring its dangers. Your pulse slows, though not by much. And you realize you're not just visiting history, you're surviving it. The silence doesn't last. It rarely does here. A faint rumble grows again, this time from the north, rolling over the plains like distant thunder. You spin toward the sound, shielding your eyes from the glare of the rising sun. And then you see them, giants, moving with the unhurried certainty of creatures that have never known. A predator strong enough to challenge them. They're not elephants, not the kind you'd expect at a zoo or on a safari channel. These are bulkier, with thicker hair hanging in long mats. Their tusks curving so wide, they look like enormous. Ivory parentheses framing their faces. Steppe mammoths. Some stand taller than a 2-story house, their shadows stretching across the grass. Your first reaction is probably awe. Your second is a reminder that one misplaced step could flatten you into prehistoric wallpaper. You crouch lower, hoping they don't notice. The herd moves as a single organism, calves tucked safely between the legs of their mothers. A male strays near the edge, his head swaying, ears flapping like sails. The air is heavy with their musk, pungent enough to sting your nose. And then there's the sound below, resonant bellows that seem to vibrate through your chest more than your ears. It's like standing next to a bass speaker at a concert. Only the band here weighs 10 tons and eats entire bushes in one bite. Mainstream science tells us that these steppe mammoths thrived across Eurasia during this period, grazing through vast ranges shaped by fire, flood, and frost. Their size made them symbols of survival, but their vulnerability to overhunting millennia later would also write their doom. For now, though, they rule unchallenged. You shift slightly and nearly stumble, backward as another shadow cuts across the plain. But this one isn't cast by mammoths. Out of the tall grasses slinks something lower, smoother, its golden coat almost blending with the light, a lion. But not the lions you picture today. This one's larger, heavier, with legs built for sprinting and jaws, designed for bringing down prey far bigger than zebras. The cave lion, Panthera leospilia, a predator that could stare you down and probably laugh at your pepper spray, your breath hitches. The lion crouches, tail flicking, eyes fixed on a calf straying a little too far from the herd. You know what's coming, and you want to look away, but your eyes are glued to the scene. In one burst of muscle and fury, the lion charges. The herd erupts, trumpeting, stamping, circling in chaos. Dust rises, choking the air, the ground shaking beneath you as if the earth itself is panicking. The calf squeals, the lion swipes, then suddenly, tusks flash. An adult mammoth wheels around, slamming its bulk toward the predator. The lion dodges once, twice, and finally, sensing the odds, vanishes back into the grass. The herd tightens, protective. The calf limping but alive, quirky tidbit. Cave lions were so feared and respected that later humans painted them on cave walls, sometimes without manes, sometimes exaggerated, maybe even worshipped as otherworldly creatures. Historians still argue whether those paintings meant respect, fear, or just bragging rights. Hey, look what we saw and lived to sketch. You let out a shaky laugh, realizing you've been holding your breath. Joke's on you, you thought your cardio workout was tough. But running from a 200-kilo lion, different league. You'd need a gym membership for about 10 years before even thinking about sprinting here. The dust settles slowly, clinging to your skin, making you cough. The mammoths lumber onward, regrouping, their young pressed tightly between adults. The plain feels alive again, pulsing with energy, each creature woven into a fabric of survival you barely understand. But the giants aren't the only rulers of this land. As you scan the horizon, you notice other movement, shaggy silhouettes grazing in the distance. Shoulders humped, horns sharp. Ancient bison, their herds almost endless, carpet the horizon. Every step kicks up dust. Every snort releases steam into the cool morning air. Their presence makes the world seem crowded yet vast, a contradiction only this era can hold. You sink into the tall grass, letting it tickle your arms, the scent of crushed vegetation filling your nose. Insects leap away as you settle, buzzing angrily as if you've disturbed their kingdom. You can feel the heat rising, the kind that bakes slowly into your skin until you're sticky and desperate for shade. But the beasts don't stop. They roam constantly, moving with the rhythm of seasons, never truly still. Historians still argue whether these mass herds shaped early human migration, pulling tribes behind them like reluctant shadows. Did humans follow the food, or did the food just happen to go where humans wandered? The answer may never be clear, but you can sense the gravity these creatures hold, pulling everything including you into their orbit. Your throat dries, your lips crack, and you realize something unsettling. You haven't seen a single water source yet. All this life depends on rivers, streams, and lakes. But out here, on the open plain, you're just another thirsty animal searching for relief. And while you're distracted by your thirst, a sound slithers close to your ear. Not the growl of a lion this time, but the hiss of grass disturbed by something serpentine. You freeze, muscles tight, your imagination sprinting ahead. Snake? Probably. Harmless? Hopefully deadly? Most likely. You swallow hard and stand slowly, brushing off the dust. The herds have moved farther away, the lion nowhere in sight. The mammoths now distant silhouettes on the horizon. You're alone again, surrounded by giants, yet utterly tiny in this vast, breathing world. And for a fleeting moment, standing there on the plain, you understand what survival really means here. It isn't about thriving, inventing, or ruling. It's about making it through the next minute, the next hour, without being trampled, eaten, or lost forever in the grass. You press forward, leaving the open plain behind. The ground softens under your feet, and the soundscape shifts. The endless thudding of herds fades, replaced by layers of rustles, chirps, and the occasional crack of branches snapping under unseen weight. Before you realize it, you're stepping into a forest. The kind of place where the air itself feels thicker, pressed down by the canopy of ancient trees. The first thing that hits you is the smell of damp earth, decaying leaves, and a sweetness you can't quite name. It's intoxicating, like the perfume of a world that hasn't yet learned restraint. You tilt your head up and can barely see the sky through the web of branches and leaves, each patch of sunlight dripping onto the forest. Floor like golden paint, mainstream science tells us that during this time, much of Europe and Africa was patchworked with forests like these, oases of life that sheltered everything from early hominins to predators, waiting in the shadows. But to you, it's not an oasis. It's a labyrinth. Every direction looks the same, twisting trunks, mossy stones, thickets that claw at your clothes. It's beautiful, but also claustrophobic. Like nature built its own maze to test you, you take a careful step, and the ground gives slightly peat, layers upon layers of decomposed plants squish underfoot, each step releasing the ghostly scent of centuries-old life. Somewhere nearby, water drips in a slow, steady rhythm. You tell yourself it's just a stream, but the sound also reminds you of something breathing, and then the forest speaks. A shrill call slices the air, followed by the flutter of wings so large it stirs the branches above. You whip your head around and catch a flash of color, brilliant, blue and scarlet, before it disappears again. Prehistoric birds weren't shy about dressing up. Some grew to enormous sizes. Others flaunted feathers so bright they'd make a modern parrot jealous. Quirky detail, scientists have found evidence of giant, flightless birds that some believe could reach nearly 10 feet tall. Imagine hiking and stumbling across that suddenly. Your granola bar feels very underwhelming. The forest is never quiet. Insects whine near your ears. Frogs croak from hidden puddles and somewhere deeper. A guttural grunt warns you away. You pause, holding your breath, realizing that in here, you're never truly alone. The trees themselves seem alive, their branches creaking like tired bones. Vines curl from above, dangling just low enough to brush against your face, startling you each time like some unseen hand reaching down. Historians still argue whether these forests were home to pockets of early humans or if they avoided them, preferring open plains where predators could be seen from afar. But evidence suggests that forests offered fruits, roots, and shelter temptations too good to ignore. And so, much like you, they ventured in, hearts racing, senses sharpened, always balancing the promise of food against the threat of becoming food. You reach down and pick a strange fruit from a low-hanging branch. It's round, green, speckled, smelling faintly of citrus and earth. Would you eat it? Probably not. You have no idea if it's edible or toxic. Early humans had no labels, no FDA-approved stickers. Their only guide was boldness, and the unlucky ones who collapsed after taking a bite. You roll the fruit in your palm, then toss it aside. Hunger is one thing, stupidity another. A rustle behind you makes your stomach drop. You spin, eyes scanning the shadows. And there it is, a pair of glowing eyes peering at you from the underbrush. You freeze. The eyes blink, and a sleek shape slides forward a lynx, larger than the modern cats you know. Its paws are silent, its body a whisper in the undergrowth. For a long moment, you lock eyes. Then, with the arrogance only cats can muster, it turns and melts back into the forest, tail flicking like it's mocking your nerves. You exhale shakily. Score one for you not eaten. At least not yet. You continue deeper, pushing aside ferns taller than your shoulders. The ground slopes downward, and soon you hear it, the rush of moving water. A river cuts through the forest, its banks littered with tracks, hoof prints, claw marks, even the rounded impressions of something big and heavy. You kneel, cupping your hands to drink, the cold water shocking your teeth, making your throat ache. It's a relief, though you can't help but wonder what else has been drinking here. As you straighten, a flash of color catches your eye again. This time, not a bird, but something stranger. On a nearby tree, carved faintly into the bark, are markings, lines, scratches, almost patterns. They could be nothing, just the work of claws or wind. But maybe, just maybe, they're the early doodles of a hominin passing through. The thought sends a shiver down your spine. You're not the only wanderer in these woods. The sun dips lower, shadows stretching long across the forest floor. Every branch looks like a claw, every root like a coiled snake waiting to strike. Your feet ache, your stomach grumbles. But you keep moving, guided by the rhythm of the forest itself, unpredictable, untamed, alive. For now, the beasts of the plains are behind you. Ahead lies a world older, darker, and more secretive. You glance back once, the open grassland now just a memory beyond the trees. Forward, the forest waits, and you step into its whispering heart, knowing that each sound, each scent, could be either salvation or disaster. The forest thins gradually, like it's reluctant to let you go. The towering trees grow farther apart. The undergrowth gives way to patches of open space, and soon, you're standing at the edge of something vast and glittering. A river sprawls before you, wide and winding, its surface catching the late afternoon light in silver flashes. The current is strong, tugging at fallen branches that bob and swirl like forgotten relics. You step closer, the muddy bank sucking at your shoes, and the air shifts again. The damp, earthy perfume of the forest gives way to the crisp, mineral tang of fresh water. A dragonfly buzzes past, wings catching the light like shards of stained glass. For a moment, you just watch the river, hypnotized by its endless flow. Mainstream history tells us that rivers like this were the lifeblood of early humans. They weren't just drinking sources. They were highways of migration, guiding tribes along their bends, pulling them into new territories. Rivers fed herds, herds drew predators. Predators drew hunters. It was a cycle, an ecosystem braided tightly together. You dip your hand into the current, the water biting cold, and realize that this river is more than scenery. It's survival. You're not alone, though. The banks are crowded with life. Hoof prints pock the mud in every direction. Pressed so deep, you can picture the weight of the creatures that made them. Deer-like animals, slimmer than anything you've seen today, dart nervously between the trees, their ears twitching at every sound. And on the opposite bank, a cluster of shaggy shapes graze calmly woolly rhinoceroses, their horns sweeping forward like lances, their hides thick enough to laugh off anything short of a falling boulder. You stare, half in awe, half in horror. They move with the slow indifference of tanks, armored giants who owe you no acknowledgement. Quirky tidbit. There's speculation that early humans sometimes used rivers as natural fridges. Fresh kills would be stashed in the cold current to keep them from rotting too fast. Imagine stumbling on a floating leg of mammoth like it's the prehistoric version of a lunchbox. Not exactly appetizing, but effective. You kneel to scoop more water, but then you stop. Ripples spread outward, not from your hand, but from something deeper, heavier. The surface breaks a massive head rising. Eyes like wet stones glaring right at you. A crocodile, but not the kind you're picturing from a lazy Florida swamp. This beast is monstrous. Bigger, older, a throwback to an era when reptiles still tried to rule the world. Its jaws gape open, teeth like polished daggers glinting in the sun. You scramble backward, heart hammering, as the crocodile lunges forward, then pauses. It doesn't chase. It doesn't need to. It just watches, letting you know that this river isn't yours. Not really. You're a guest at best, prey at worst. Slowly, deliberately, it sinks back beneath the surface, leaving only ripples as proof it was ever there. Historians still argue whether rivers were primarily safe, zones for humans, or deadly traps. Some evidence shows communities camped near banks, their lives tethered to the water. Other signs suggest sudden floods, predators, and disease made rivers treacherous. The debate remains. But standing here, your shoes soaked, your pulse racing, you're leaning toward the treacherous side. The sun lowers, painting the river in amber and gold. The air cools slightly, but the insects don't care. Mosquitoes rise in swarms, their whining relentless. You swat at them, feeling itchy welts already forming on your skin. It's almost funny you've dodged mammoths, lions, and crocodiles. But it's the bugs that might drive you insane. Welcome to the real survival challenge. The river draws everything: thirsty herds, lurking predators, wandering humans. You imagine early people crouched just where you are, filling their crude gourds with water, whispering to each other in low tones, always scanning the trees for glowing eyes. Maybe they left behind a footprint, now long since washed away, or a broken tool buried in the mud. The thought is grounding. They were here, right here, and now so are you. The current churns louder as you follow the bank downstream. It widens suddenly, feeding into a marshy delta where reeds sway and frogs sing in chaotic chorus. The ground squelches beneath your steps, mud clinging to your ankles like glue. The smell here is heavier, sour with rot, but alive with energy. You half expect something enormous to burst from the reeds. And honestly, it wouldn't even surprise you anymore. Still, there's a strange peace to it all. The river glitters in the fading light. Animals drink cautiously at its edge, and even the lurking crocodiles seem content to watch from below. For a fleeting moment, you forget the danger, and just marvel at the rhythm of it, the eternal heartbeat of a world still deciding what it wants to become. You pause, letting the cool breeze brush your face. The sky burns orange and pink, reflecting in the water like liquid fire. You're exhausted, hungry, and itchy, but you're also alive. And here, 300,000 years ago. That's saying something. The night creeps in fast, shadows stretching like long fingers across the riverbank until the water is no longer gold but steel. You shiver, partly from the chill, partly from something deeper, the realization that darkness here doesn't just mean rest. It means risk. The forest is behind you, the plains distant, and the river feels like a line drawn between safety and danger. And yet, as the stars blink awake overhead, something glows in the distance, flickering, alive. You squint, your breath catching. Fire, not the natural kind from lightning, strikes, or volcanic sparks, though those do happen. No, this fire seems tended, low controlled, pulsing rhythmically in the night air. And near it, shapes. Silhouettes hunched and shifting. You move closer slow as a shadow, each step squelching in the mud until you can crouch behind a boulder and watch. A small group of early humans, archaic Homo sapiens. Maybe even Neanderthals, depending on where you are, gathers around the flames. Their bodies are lean but powerful. Skins draped in furs, their faces illuminated by the wavering light. They don't talk the way you do, not yet. But the grunts and clicks between them carry meaning. They pass something back and forth, sticks tipped with glowing embers. Tools sharpened on rocks, maybe even scraps of meat charred at the edges. Mainstream science tells us fire mastery was a turning point in human history. Evidence suggests people here were already taming flames, cooking food, driving away predators, and warming their caves. Fire meant survival, but it wasn't guaranteed lightning could give you fire. Yes, but keeping it alive took effort. Sparks had to be nurtured, embers shielded, flames coaxed like children. Quirky tidbit. Some researchers, think early humans, carried fire the way we carry phones, literally keeping smoldering logs with them when they moved camp, so they wouldn't have to start fresh. Picture someone saying, "Hey, don't forget the fire log," while packing up. That's a survival tool and a hassle all in one. You watch as one figure adds dry grass to the fire, blowing gently until sparks leap into flame. The others lean closer, their eyes reflecting the light like polished stone. For the first time since you arrived, you feel warmth too. The glow reaches you even from here, brushing your skin, teasing you closer. Historians still argue whether fire was first, fully controlled around this exact period or earlier. Some evidence points to hearths dating back nearly 1,000,000 years. Others argue true mastery regular. Reliable use was much closer to now. Either way, what you're watching feels monumental. Without fire, humans are just clever animals. With it, they start to tip the scales. Your stomach growls again, and your eyes flicker to the meat roasting on sticks near the fire. It sizzles softly, fat dripping into the flames with sharp hisses. The smell is maddening, rich, and savory. A far cry from the raw roots you almost risked earlier. You swallow hard, realizing just how much cooked food changed the game. It made calories more accessible, nutrition easier to absorb, and chewing less of a jaw-breaking ordeal. Evolution was literally fed by fire. One of the humans suddenly looks your way, and your heart leaps. Did they see you? The firelight flickers across their face, revealing heavy brows and sharp cheekbones. They sniff the air, grunt softly, then turn back to their group. Relief floods you. Still, you hunker lower, deciding it's better to watch from the shadows than risk becoming tonight's odd guest. The fire crackles on, hypnotic, sparks rising like stars trying to rejoin the sky. Around it, the humans settle, some lying down, others staring into the flames as if waiting for dreams to arrive. You notice how the light pushes back the night. The forest seems farther away, the river less menacing. Even the insects avoid the smoke. Fire isn't just heat, it's a force field. You can't help but smile at the irony. In your world, fire alarms and sprinklers are about keeping fire out. Here, fire is everything. Their comfort, their protection, their miracle. Without it, the darkness would press in too close, and the predators watching from the shadows would come closer. A log collapses in the fire, sending a shower of sparks upward. One childlike figure giggles, reaching toward the light, pulled back gently by an older hand. You see the tenderness, the instinct to protect, even here, even now. For all their differences, they look strangely familiar in moments like this. huddled together, bound by warmth. They're not so different from families today gathered around a TV or a campfire. You lean back against the boulder, letting the warmth and crackle wash over you. For the first time since you arrived, you don't feel entirely alone. The fire connects you, even from the shadows. The night feels less endless, less hostile. You close your eyes briefly, imagining what it would be like to sit among them, to share their food, to listen to the guttural rhythm of their voices. You know it's impossible, but for now, you let yourself believe. And in that fragile glow, the line between you and them blurs. For a heartbeat, you're not just visiting the past, you're part of it. The fire fades behind you, its glow shrinking to a faint ember in the dark. You walk carefully, each step crunching on frost-hardened grass. The air is sharper now, biting at your nose, and your stomach twists again with hunger. Out here, there's no midnight snack raid on the fridge. If you want food, you have to risk everything to get it. Ahead, the land opens into a patchwork of scrub and grass. You crouch low, scanning for movement, your ears tuned to the smallest sound. And then you see it a small herd of antelope-like animals, grazing under the pale light of the moon. Their bodies are sleek, their legs twitchy, always ready to bolt. Dinner if you're lucky. But catching them? That's the problem. Mainstream science tells us hunting during this era was brutal work. Spears were crude, often nothing more than sharpened sticks. Bows and arrows? Still thousands of years away. Early humans relied on persistence hunting, chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Imagine running a marathon, except instead of a medal. You get dinner, and if you lose, you also become someone else's dinner. You creep forward, heart thudding. The herd raises their heads, ears twitching, sensing something. You freeze, willing your breath to slow. One step, then another, and then snap. A twig cracks under your foot. The herd explodes into motion, hooves drumming the earth like thunder. You curse under your breath, though no one here cares about your language. They're gone, their silhouettes vanishing into the dark. Quirky tidbit. Some evidence suggests early humans sometimes worked with fire to hunt, driving animals into traps or toward cliffs. Imagine yelling, "Let's barbecue and hunt at the same time." That's multitasking at its most prehistoric. You sigh, stepping forward into the trampled grass they left behind. Your stomach groans, louder now, mocking you. But then you notice something tracks. Deep impressions in the soil. Smaller than the mammoths. Larger than a deer's, you kneel, tracing the shape with your fingers. Or, maybe, dangerous, but easier prey if you can corner it. Your ears pick up a faint grunt nearby, and suddenly the night feels charged. Historians still argue whether early humans hunted, alone or in coordinated groups during this time. Some bones show patterns of group kills, others suggest solitary scavenging. Standing here, listening to the rustle in the bushes, you know one thing for sure. You'd rather have a team right now. The bushes part, and your breath catches. Not a boar, something bigger. A massive shape pushes through the undergrowth, tusks glinting pale in the moonlight. A woolly rhinoceros. Its eyes flash briefly before it snorts, sending mist into the cold air. Your entire body locks up. Hunting, forget it. You'd be lucky to make it out alive. Slowly, carefully, you back away, praying it doesn't charge. The rhino stomps once, twice, then turns, lumbering back into the brush. You exhale, legs trembling. So much for dinner. But then, faintly, the smell hits you coppery. Sharp. Blood. You turn your head and see it. Just beyond the shrubs, the carcass of a deer-like animal, its throat torn open, fresh steam rising from its body. Predator kill. And not long ago. Your instincts scream at you to run, but your stomach argues otherwise. Early humans scavenged as often as they hunted. Why risk the chase when something else does the hard work for you? You crouch low, approaching slowly, eyes scanning for movement. The body is warm, the wound fresh, the meat untouched except for the neck. Whatever killed it might be nearby. You kneel knifeless, clumsy, trying to tear a strip of flesh with your hands. The taste is iron raw, revolting, but it fills the emptiness in your gut. You gag once, then force yourself to swallow. It's not a feast, but it's enough to keep you upright. A low growl shatters the moment. You freeze, mouth still full, turning your head slowly. There, at the edge of the shadows, two eyes gleam. Wide set, predatory. The air grows heavier. A hyena enormous, its body hunched, teeth bared. Not the giggling scavenger you know today. This one is built like a tank. Jaws strong enough to snap bones like twigs. You stumble back, blood smeared across your hands, your heart pounding. The hyena steps forward, claiming the kill with a snarl that rattles your chest. You backpedal, careful not to trip. Your legs trembling but moving faster than your brain. The animal doesn't chase, it doesn't need to. The deer is its prize, and you are just a fool stealing scraps. Your stomach churns, half from fear, half from the raw meat. You wipe your mouth, shaking and keep moving. Out here, the daily hunt isn't just a way to eat, it's a test of your place in the chain. Tonight, you learned it fast. You're not on top. Not even close. The night presses closer, heavier than before. You wrap your arms around yourself. Not from cold this time, but from the weight of the dark. Hunger still gnaws, though the taste of raw meat lingers unpleasantly in your mouth. A reminder of how far survival can drag your dignity. You need more than scraps. You need a place to rest. A pocket of safety where predators can't slip their shadows around you. Ahead, the terrain shifts. Rocks rise like broken teeth from the ground, jagged and pale under moonlight. You trudge toward them, the promise of shelter calling. Caves, humans before you. Humans alongside you would seek them too. Crude stone roofs carved by time and wind natures. Answer to rent-free housing. The first cave you find is small, its entrance low. You crouch and step inside, the air suddenly cooler, damp against your skin. The floor smells of earth and something else. Musk, you freeze, eyes adjusting to the dim. A scattering of bones litters the ground, gnawed clean, cracked open for marrow. And in the back, a pair of eyes flickers open. You scramble out before the growl even registers. Some shelters are already claimed, and tonight that one belongs to a predator. You stumble into the open, chest heaving, your footsteps echoing against stone. Another cave yawns to your left, bigger, darker, empty, or so you hope. This time, fortune favors you. No eyes glint, no low rumble follows. You creep in cautiously, running your hand along the wall. The stone is cool, the ceiling low, but protective. Your heart slows, the panic softening. Here, at least for tonight, you might rest. Mainstream history notes that early humans frequently sheltered in caves, though not always. Some favored huts built from branches, mammoth bones, or hides stretched tight like tents. But caves had a special pull, their permanence. Storms couldn't sweep them away. Floods couldn't wash them downstream. Of course, the downside was what you just saw sometimes. The leaseholders had very sharp teeth. You settle into a corner, the rough floor pressing against your hip. The silence inside is different than outside, muffled, safer somehow. Still, every crack and drip echoes louder than it should. You imagine families huddled here thousands of years ago. Firelight painting the walls. Children's eyes wide as adults told stories. Maybe those first whispered tales weren't about heroes or gods, but about saber-tooths, hunts gone wrong, or that one time Uncle Ugg mistook a porcupine for dinner. Quirky tidbit, archaeologists once found evidence of early people using cave bear skulls, possibly for ritual. Picture it sitting in the dark with a giant skull staring at you. Cozy bedtime vibes? Not exactly. You curl against the wall, pulling your arms around your knees. Outside, the night stretches on. The wind whips through the rocks, carrying the distant howl of wolves. They're hunting, their voices weaving into the darkness, too many to count. You shiver, grateful for the stone between you and them, and then drip, drip, drip. Your eyes follow. The sound to a small pool forming at the cave's edge. Water. You crawl closer, cupping your hands, drinking greedily. It tastes metallic, earthy, but it soothes your throat and washes down the tang of blood still clinging there. It's almost enough to trick you into comfort, almost. Historians still argue whether caves served primarily as shelters or as occasional stopovers, places visited seasonally rather than lived in long term. Some layers of ash and debris suggest repeated use, others just brief stays. Either way, tonight proves the point when the world outside teems with teeth and hunger. A cave feels like a fortress. You lean your head back against the wall, eyes half closed, ears tuned to the quiet beyond. The stone presses cool against your skull, steadying you, grounding you. For a moment, you almost relax, drifting between fear and exhaustion. But your mind won't quite let you slip into sleep. It keeps whispering. This cave kept out one predator, but will it keep out the others? You imagine a tribe gathering here. Fire in the center, smoke curling toward the ceiling. Children curled under hides, elders murmuring advice. Someone snoring louder than the wolves outside. The thought warms you, if only faintly. For now, though, it's just you. One body pressed into stone. One fragile life braced against a world that doesn't care whether you wake again. The drip of water slows. The wind outside softens. And finally, against your better judgment, your eyes begin to close. The cave breathes around you, timeless, patient. Long before you, countless others slept where you now lie, listening to the same night, fearing the same teeth, clinging to the same fragile hope. The cave breathes with you, but sleep never comes fully. Your eyes flutter open and closed, restless, as though your body senses something stirring in the air beyond the stone walls. Morning doesn't break suddenly, here it creeps. A slow thinning of the dark, a smear of gray seeping through the cave's mouth. You push yourself upright, every muscle aching, and shuffle toward the opening. The world outside glows faintly, dew glittering on grasses like scattered stars. Herds move across the horizon, silhouettes massive and steady. They've already begun their endless search for food, as if survival doesn't allow a snooze button. You stretch, groan, and stumble into the daylight. Something feels different this morning. Not just the light, but the way your thoughts churn. Last night was survival. Today, it feels like awareness. You catch yourself noticing more than just the threat of teeth. You notice patterns, the way the herds move together, the way the wind shapes the grass. You bend down, pick up a stone, and your thumb brushes its edge, rough yet sharp. You turn it in your hand, curiosity flickering. It's useless as it is, but if you struck it against another, maybe it could be more. That flicker, that's the beginning of something vast. Mind's awakening, slowly but surely. Not just instincts, but ideas. Mainstream history teaches us that by around 300,000 years ago, early humans were showing sparks of symbolic thought. Evidence of ochre pigments smeared onto rocks. Abstract carvings scratched into bone. And even the careful arrangement of objects suggest minds reaching beyond the immediate need for food and shelter. The seeds of imagination, superstition, and maybe even art were sprouting here. You crouch by the cave wall, your hand absent-mindedly tracing lines into the dirt. Circles, crosses, nothing. Meaningful yet, but they feel satisfying. Like your fingers are learning to speak before your mouth can. You pause and chuckle quietly. Congratulations, you may have just invented the world's first doodle. Caveman TikTok, minus the ring light, you step deeper into the day, moving along a ridge that overlooks the valley. Herds ripple below, predators stalk in their shadows. And somewhere out there, other bands of humans wander too. You've seen them, wary eyes, stone tools, whispers in a language more gesture than sound. They're like you, but not entirely. Some taller, some stockier, some with faces shaped differently. And yet, their minds too are beginning to stretch toward something greater. Quirky tidbit, archaeologists once uncovered what might be the earliest evidence of red paint parties. Pieces of ochre, ground down into powders, were found in ancient shelters. Maybe it was body paint, maybe cave decor, or maybe just the first kid in history got in trouble for drawing on the walls. You pause, letting the idea sink in. This isn't just about surviving lions and hyenas anymore. It's about leaving marks, making meaning, whispering stories that will outlast the fire's embers. And the wildest part, no one really knows why. Historians still argue whether these gestures were rituals, expressions of identity, or just boredom during a rainy season. The thought follows you as you kneel beside a patch of clay. You press your palm into it, lift it, and stare at the imprint. A handprint. Your handprint. For a second, you grin silly. Maybe, but it feels like a statement. I was here. Even without knowing it, you've just echoed what humans across ages would crave. Permanence in a world of impermanence. You wipe the clay on your thigh and keep walking. The valley stretching ahead like a page waiting to be written on. As the sun climbs, the sounds shift. Birds call more boldly. Insects rise in a buzzing haze. And your stomach growls like an echo of the lions. You gather a few berries, bitter but edible, and chew slowly. The taste barely registers. Your mind drifts back to those doodles, those handprints, those sparks of meaning. You picture future humans much later standing in museums, tilting their heads at scratches in stone and saying, "Wow, they were just like us." The path dips into another grove, trees standing like pillars in a shadowed hall. You pause, eyes lingering on the bark. With a sharpened rock, you scratch a line. Then another. A crude figure begins to take shape, not elegant, not even clear, but there it is, your first attempt at art. It's laughable, but it's also profound. For the first time, you're not just surviving, you're expressing. And that changes everything. The grove holds you in its cool embrace. The crude scratches on the bark still fresh under your fingertips. You linger, staring at them as though they might come alive if you watch long enough. They don't. Of course, just crooked lines, awkward and shaky. But they mean something to you, even if you can't explain it. You smile faintly, then shake your head. You've got more pressing problems than inventing abstract art. Your stomach interrupts again, grumbling louder now. The berries didn't cut it. You wander through the trees, scanning for anything edible. Roots, nuts, maybe even mushrooms, though you know better than to eat just any mushroom. You once saw a crow peck at one, then keel over in less than a minute. A cautionary tale if there ever was one, pushing past a cluster of ferns. You spot them, mushrooms with wide caps, pale stems clustered at the base of a fallen tree. You crouch low, hesitant. Some of these could kill you, others could fill you, and a few could send your mind soaring into places you can't even name. Historians still argue whether early humans experimented intentionally with hallucinogens, or if they simply stumbled into psychedelic picnics by mistake. Either way, the possibility lingers like a mischievous whisper. You decide against it. No need for your first art project to become your last hallucination. Instead, you tug at a root nearby, dirt clinging to your fingers, and bite into it. It's bitter, tough, but it dulls the ache in your belly, moving deeper into the grove. You notice something unusual. A tree with its branches snapped, not by storm or claw, but deliberately. Piled beneath it are stones arranged in a rough circle. You crouch, pulse quickening. Someone's been here. And not just anyone, humans. The stones mark a place where fire once burned. Ash stains the soil, faint but clear. You imagine it. A group huddled here days or weeks before you arrived. Sparks crackling, laughter or whispers filling the night. Maybe they shared food. Maybe they shared fears. Maybe they even painted themselves with that ochre dust, shining red in the firelight like glowing spirits. You feel a pang, loneliness tightening in your chest. Survival is easier with numbers. Together, you could hunt bigger prey, guard against predators, share the warmth of fire. Alone, you're just one small figure in a world that seems designed to crush you. Mainstream history tells us that by 300,000 years ago, humans were forming small, tight-knit groups, sometimes called bands. 10 to 20 people, maybe more, linked by blood or necessity. They cooperated in ways other species rarely managed, sharing food and protecting one another. It wasn't perfect. Of course, jealousy, rivalry, and mistrust bubbled under the surface, but the balance tilted toward survival. You kneel by the fire circle, running your hand through the ash. It's cold now, lifeless, a symbol of what could have been. You sigh, imagining their faces. Were they like yours? Would they have welcomed you or driven you off with stones and spears? Quirky tidbit in some digs. Archaeologists have found mysterious piles of stones deliberately stacked, almost like shrines. Were they graves, markers, or just the ancient version of, "Don't sit here, it's taken"? No one knows. You stand, brushing dirt from your hands, and continue on. The forest thins, opening into a wide meadow where herds of deer graze cautiously. You freeze, crouching low, watching them. One wrong move and they scatter, faster than you could ever hope to catch. But still, you watch. You study the way they shift, the way their ears twitch before they bolt, the way the wind carries their scent. Knowledge now, but maybe strategy later. The sun dips lower, shadows stretching long across the grass. You've eaten. You've found signs of others. You've marked a tree with your shaky lines. It's not much, but it feels like progress. You're not just drifting through this world. Anymore, you're beginning to notice it, shape it, maybe even leave a trace on it. And as you walk, a thought settles heavy in your chest. If you found their fire, maybe one day someone will find yours, The meadow stretches out before you. But the sinking sun warns you not to linger. Night here isn't just dark, it's alive with teeth, claws, and eyes that shine like sparks. You skirt the open field and edge toward a rise of rocky ground where boulders jut like broken teeth. It looks safer, defensible. You climb, hands scraping against stone, and perch on a ledge that overlooks the plain. From here, you can see the herds, the tree line, even faint trails carved by migrating animals. Your breath slows, your body easing into the rock's support. For the first time in days, you don't feel like prey on display. From up here, you're an observer. And as twilight deepens, something stirs in your chest, a strange curiosity, almost longing, not just for food or shelter, or even companionship. It's something bigger, a pull toward meaning. You tilt your head back, staring at the darkening sky. Stars prick through the blue like scattered fireflies. Thousands of them, cold and brilliant, watching you. You inhale sharply. These aren't just pretty lights there. Patterns, shapes, a canvas painted across the heavens. You can almost connect them. A hunter here, a beast there. You wonder if anyone else sees them too. Maybe those people by the fire circle looked up at the same stars, weaving stories in their minds. Historians still argue whether early humans were capable of astronomical thought this far back. Some evidence suggests they noticed cycles the moon's phases, the rhythm of seasons, but we can't be sure. What we do know is that humans everywhere eventually built myths around the sky. And maybe, just maybe, it started here, with someone like you staring into the dark and whispering a story no one had told before. You lean back, smiling faintly. Imagine explaining astrology to someone right now. So, your entire personality is based on where those dots were when you were born. They'd probably just blink and hand you a rock. But still, the wonder is real. You can't shake it. Quirky tidbit. In some caves, scientists found carved bones that might mark lunar cycles, essentially the world's first calendars. Were they tracking time, recording rituals, or just bored enough to start tallying scratches? The debate still rages. You trace your finger against the stone beside you, mimicking those scratches. 1 mark, 2, 3. Suddenly, you're not just here in the moment. You're recording it, holding on to it. The idea of time itself begins to whisper in your mind. Not just now, but before. Not just today, but tomorrow. A breeze tugs at your hair, carrying the scent of rain. You glance westward and see clouds rolling in, dark and heavy. A storm approaches. You tuck yourself deeper into the rocks, pulling your arms around your knees. Lightning flickers, thunder follows, and soon the sky opens. Rain lashes against stone, soaking you to the bone. And yet, despite the discomfort, you feel alive, charged. Every flash of lightning illuminates the world in stark brilliance, the valley glowing like a fleeting painting. The herds huddling close, the forest trembling under the wind. It's terrifying, yes, but also magnificent. You close your eyes and let the storm crash around you. It feels like more than weather. It feels like a conversation. The sky shouting, the earth answering, and you caught in between. No wonder ancient people thought gods lived in storms. You'd believe it too if you didn't know better. And honestly, even knowing better doesn't stop you from half believing it anyway. As the storm rages, you whisper something you didn't expect. Let me survive this. Your first prayer. And just like that, the connection deepens not just to survival, not just to curiosity, but to something sacred. By the time the storm eases, the stars peek through again, brighter now in the washed air. You curl against the rock, shivering but oddly peaceful. The thought lingers. Maybe survival isn't enough. Maybe you're meant to search for meaning in the chaos. The rain leaves behind a silence so thick it almost hums. Water drips from cracks in the stone, each drop echoing like a heartbeat in the night. You stir, stiff and sore, your skin sticky with mud and your clothes heavy with dampness. The storm has passed, but its presence lingers in the smell of wet earth and the gleam of stars, sharpened by the cleanse. You ease yourself down from the ledge, your feet slipping slightly on the slick rock. The meadow below shimmers under the moonlight, blades of grass glittering as if each carried a tiny star of its own. You walk slowly, cautious of what still prowls in the dark. Then you hear it a rustle, low, deliberate, not the scuttle of a rabbit or the flutter of a bird. Something heavier. You freeze, crouching low in the wet grass. Eyes straining, you catch sight of them, two figures moving along the tree line. Not beasts, not shadows, humans. Your breath catches in your throat. They move with purpose, hunched but steady, carrying something slung between them. You can't tell what it could be, game, or it could be firewood. But it's enough. Proof that you're not alone. You debate what to do. Call out, approach quietly, stay hidden. Survival instinct tells you to stay down, to watch. You've learned enough from animal encounters to know that rushing in can end badly. So you stay crouched, heart hammering. The two figures pause, glancing back as though sensing something. One points toward the meadow, but after a moment they move on, disappearing into the trees. Your body trembles not from cold this time, but from the raw thrill of proximity. You are this close to others of your kind. Historians still argue whether strangers meeting in those days were more likely to cooperate or to clash. Some groups welcomed outsiders, folding them into the band. Others saw them as competition for scarce food and drove them away with spears. It was a gamble every time, and tonight you weren't ready to roll the dice. Quirky tidbit. There's evidence of ancient humans sharing tools across vast distances, suggesting trade networks long before agriculture. Imagine bartering a stone hand axe for, say, some berries or a particularly shiny feather. Proto-eBay, minus the shipping delays. The thought makes you grin nervously as you creep back toward the rocky outcrop. Your mind races with possibilities. What if they had fire? What if they had food? What if they had stories, different scratches? Different stars, different ways of seeing the same world? You settle against the stone again, restless now. The stars overhead seem more alive, as though urging you forward. You feel torn between two. Primal instincts, the safety of solitude, and the risk of connection. Sleep comes in fits. Dreams tangled with flashes of lightning, the glow of fires, and the faint outline of faces you've never met. When you wake, dawn paints the horizon in soft orange and pink, the meadow humming with life again. Your stomach growls. You pluck a handful of wet berries from a bush, chewing as you stand, resolve settling in. You can't stay hidden forever. The world is too big, and you are too small. If survival is about numbers, then maybe you need to find those numbers. But for now, you head east, where the ground dips into a valley. Mist curls along the earth, and somewhere below, water rushes faintly. A river, perhaps. And where there's water, there's life, animal, plant, human. The idea steadies you. Your path may not be certain, but it's forward. Always forward. The valley opens before you like a curtain pulled back. Mist clings to the low ground, ghostly tendrils curling around clusters of trees. You follow the sound of rushing water until the river reveals itself broad, fast-moving, silver under the pale morning sun. The current hisses against rocks swollen from last night's storm. You crouch at the edge, dipping your hands into the icy flow. The shock travels through your bones, sharp but invigorating. You drink greedily, water streaming down your chin. And for the first time in days, your thirst feels quenched. You splash some across your face, gasping at the sting, then lean back on your heels, staring at your rippling reflection. The face that looks back isn't polished, isn't clean, it's smeared with mud, framed by tangled hair. Eyes sunken from hunger and sleepless nights. And yet, there's something there. A flicker of persistence, of stubborn fire. You blink at yourself, surprised that even in this alien world, you look well determined. Almost heroic. Almost. Then your stomach growls loud enough to ruin the moment. You scan the banks for food. Birds flit along the reeds. Small fish dart in the shallows. And the occasional ripple suggests something bigger moving beneath the surface. The idea of catching fish makes your heart skip. You snap a branch, strip it down, and jab the sharpened end into the water. Spoiler, you are not a fisherman. You stab, you miss. You curse under your breath. A fish flicks its tail mockingly, as if laughing at you. Congratulations. You've just invented slapstick comedy. 300,000 years early, historians still argue whether fishing was widely practiced this far back, or only emerged later with specialized tools. Some sites show evidence of fish bones among early human remains, others not so much. Maybe it was a regional skill, or maybe people, like you, just got really frustrated with slippery prey. Still, hunger is an excellent motivator. You wedge stones into a crude trap, guiding small fish into shallow pockets where escape is harder. It takes patience, and patience takes more energy than you'd like. But finally, a flash, a struggle. And you lift one wriggling prize from the water, triumph, dinner. Or maybe brunch. You cook nothing. Of course, you still haven't mastered fire. Instead, you eye the fish like sushi. Minus the wasabi, minus the cool ceramic plates. You grimace and take a bite. It's cold, slimy, salty, and somehow delicious. Or maybe that's just desperation seasoning. Either way, you feel stronger with every swallow. Quirky tidbit. Some anthropologists believe raw fish consumption might have boosted brain development thanks to omega-3 fatty acids. Imagine your clumsy river snack could be helping invent future math homework. You're welcome, descendants. As you eat, you notice tracks in the mud by the riverbank. Large, round impressions, clawed at the edges. Not human, not deer. Something heavier. You crouch to examine them, tracing their size with your hand. Bigger than a lion. Too heavy for a wolf. Could it be a bear? A chill prickles your spine. You glance up, scanning the tree line. Nothing. The mist curls lazily, innocent. Still, the reminder is clear. You're not the only predator here. The river gives life, yes, but it also attracts danger. You shoulder a piece of driftwood as a makeshift club and move on along the bank, eyes darting constantly. The river bends, widening into a calm pool where reeds sway. Beyond it, smoke spirals faintly into the air. Your chest tightens. Smoke means fire. Fire means people. You freeze, crouching in the reeds, heart hammering. It's distant but distinct. For the second time in as many days, you've brushed the edges of other humans. This time, you're not sure you want to walk away. You crouch low in the reeds. Eyes locked on that thin twist of smoke curling into the pale sky. Your breath slows, shallow and careful, as if the very air might give you away. The river hushes nearby, but in your ears, it's drowned out by the thud of your heartbeat. Smoke means fire, fire means warmth, and warmth almost always means people. You creep forward, bare feet sinking softly into the mud, each step deliberate. The smell grows faintly sharper, a hint of charred wood carried on the breeze. You imagine the glow, the crackle, the hypnotic dance of flames, and it pulls you forward like a magnet. Breaking through the tree line, you finally see them. A cluster of figures gathered around a fire pit. They huddle together, shoulders wrapped in animal skins, their faces flickering gold and shadow in the firelight. The sight grips you, primal and magnetic. You're drawn to it, to them. You can almost hear the warmth, the crackle, the pop, the sigh of wood collapsing into glowing embers. It makes your fingers twitch, your muscles ache with longing. You remember your own cold nights, curled into rock crevices, shivering until dawn. Here, only a few paces away, is the cure. Historians still argue whether fire was fully mastered 300,000 years ago, or whether it was often borrowed from natural sources like lightning. Some sites show hearths, evidence of control, while others suggest fleeting encounters, with flames that vanished as quickly as they appeared. Tonight, though, you're looking at proof living, breathing proof that fire is real and tamed. Quirky tidbit, early humans, sometimes, carried smoldering sticks wrapped in bark to transport fire from one place to another, essentially inventing the world's first pocket lighter, minus the keychain. Practical. If a little smoky, the group before you isn't just cooking, they're laughing. Low, rhythmic sounds, rising and falling. Their gestures are animated, their hands carving shapes in the air. It's not language as you know it, but it's communication. Stories, maybe. Jokes, perhaps. The way their faces light up tells you that connection is universal. No matter the era, your chest tightens with a cocktail of emotions. Longing, fear, hope. You could step forward into the circle and everything would change. You could have warmth, safety, maybe even food. But what if they don't want you? What if they see you as a threat? You picture spears turning your way, voices rising in alarm. Your stomach twists. You stay hidden, crouched in the brush, watching. One of them tosses a bone into the fire. It hisses, sparks flying. Another adjusts the pile of wood, coaxing the flames higher. The scene feels so achingly familiar, like a memory from a life you never lived. As night deepens, you settle into your hiding place, unable to pull your eyes away. The fire burns steady, the figures shift and chatter. The shadows dance on the rocks behind them. You realize you're shivering again, but this time, it's not from cold, it's from wanting. Sleep doesn't come. Instead, you keep vigil, a silent witness to humanity's earliest comfort. Firelight paints their world in colors you've been denied: orange, gold, red, alive. And with each flicker, a question nudges deeper into you. How long can you keep surviving without stepping forward? The night stretches, endless and quiet, and still you linger at the edge of belonging, caught between two instincts: fight and flight, approach and retreat. You don't know which will win, not yet. The night blurs into dawn, and your body feels like it's been wrung dry. Still, you're there, pressed into the brush, watching the fire shrink to a soft bed of coals. The figures stir slowly, like they've rehearsed this rhythm 1,000 times. A woman stretches, her joints cracking audibly even from your hiding place. Two men rise and wander to the riverbank, spears in hand. A child tiny, barely walking tumbles in the dirt, giggling. The sound drifts over to you like a memory of something you've missed. Your throat tightens. You didn't expect the laughter of a child to sting so sharply. It's warm, innocent, achingly familiar. That's when it hits you. This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about connection. Fire alone won't save you. Food alone won't sustain you. You need others. You need them. And yet, you freeze, paralyzed by the thought of stepping into their world. Would they welcome you? Or would they chase you off like a wild animal? After all, you are a wild animal to them. Just another hungry figure in a dangerous landscape. Historians still argue whether groups, 300,000 years ago, were open to outsiders or fiercely protective. Some burial sites hint at intermingling between distant tribes, while others suggest brutal conflicts over territory. The evidence is patchy, a puzzle missing half its pieces. Maybe you'd be accepted. Maybe you'd be dinner. Quirky tidbit. Some researchers believe laughter itself predates language, evolving as a kind of social glue. In other words, chuckling over a joke or over someone. Tripping on a log may have been humanity's original group chat notification. Judging by the way these people throw back their heads and chuckle around the fire, the theory feels pretty solid. You weigh your choices as the group begins to move. Skins are wrapped, tools are gathered. Embers are carefully smothered and tucked into bark bundles for transport. The fire, like life itself, isn't wasted, it's carried forward. You marvel at that practicality. They don't just use fire, they plan for it. You feel a pang of envy. The clan begins drifting upriver, leaving behind only footprints and ash. You trail them at a distance, steps cautious, eyes alert. You've become a shadow, tethered to their movement, neither in nor fully out. You mimic their pace, notice their formation, adults flanking the child. Hunters at the edges. It's a strategy, a living perimeter. Hours pass. The sun climbs, scorching your back. Hunger gnaws again, and thirst returns, though less sharp than before. You stumble at one point, nearly revealing yourself with a loud snap of branches. Your pulse rockets, but no one turns. They're focused, efficient, moving with a purpose you can't quite guess. At midday, they pause. The hunters split off, vanishing into tall grass. Moments later, the sound of a scuffle snarls, shouts. The sharp crack of wood against flesh. You press low, heart racing. Then they reappear, dragging a carcass between them. An antelope-like animal, its body limp and heavy, victory. Your stomach twists again, half with hunger, half without. This isn't scavenging. This is hunting planned, executed, successful. You're looking at the raw power of cooperation. Alone, you barely manage raw fish. Together, they feast. You imagine stepping forward now, showing your empty hands, offering submission. Would they see you as an ally or a threat? You bite your lip and hold back. The fear is too strong. As evening comes, they settle once more. Fire rekindled, meat roasting, laughter circling. Smoke curls upward again, taunting you with its smell. Your mouth waters, your body aches with longing. And so you stay hidden another night, caught in the orbit of fire and family, forever on the outside. Too afraid to cross the thin line between solitude and belonging. Another night slides over the land, heavier than the last. You huddle in your hiding place, eyes locked on the glow of their fire. Each crackle feels like a heartbeat, steady and alive, anchoring you to this moment. The clan eats, talks, gestures. The scent of roasted meat drifts through the trees, thick and rich. It's almost unbearable. Your stomach growls so loudly you're sure they'll hear. One of the hunters looks up, scanning the darkness. For a moment, your chest freezes. His gaze lingers near your shadow, suspicious. You press lower, barely breathing, your body trembling. Then he shrugs, distracted by someone's laugh, and turns back to the fire. Relief washes over you so fast it almost makes you dizzy. You can't stay like this forever. The thought needles you, cruel and sharp. Alone, you'll wither. With them, maybe you'll live, maybe even thrive. But stepping forward feels like stepping off a cliff. The unknown yawns wide, and you've never been good at falling. Historians still argue whether early humans had rituals for welcoming strangers, or whether trust was something earned painfully over time. Bones, tools, and hearths tell fragments of the story, but not the feelings behind those decisions. Did someone, 300,000 years ago, sit trembling like you are now, caught between hunger and fear, belonging and exile? You suspect the answer is yes. Quirky tidbit. There's evidence that some early humans may have used red ochre, not just for art, but for body paint during rituals. Imagine that painting your skin bright crimson before stepping into a new group, like the world's earliest icebreaker costume. You almost laugh at the thought. Maybe you just need some ochre and a good pickup line. The fire dims, the clan drifts into slumber, their bodies curled close for warmth. You watch them breathe, slow and even, in rhythm with the night. The urge to join is so strong it aches, a physical pull in your chest. Still, you stay rooted in the dark, a silent ghost. And then you close your eyes. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, you let your body sink into the earth, surrendering to exhaustion. The fire's glow lingers on your eyelids. The sound of distant laughter echoes in your ears, and warmth imagined. But real enough wraps around you. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. Maybe courage, maybe disaster. But tonight, you sleep near firelight, and that alone feels like survival. The fire fades now, softer, lower, until it's only a gentle glow on the horizon of your mind. You feel your body loosening, like knots untying one by one, the tension slowly ebbing away. The night is calm, the air still, and all around you is quiet safety. You breathe deeply, letting each inhale draw in calm, and each exhale release the weight you've been carrying. Your shoulders ease, your jaw unclenches. Even your hands soften, as though the earth itself is holding them. The figures you've been watching the clan with their fire, their laughter, their warmth begin to blur into the background. Not lost, just drifting further away. Their presence lingers like a reassuring hum, reminding you that even in the harshest times, there is always light, always community, always something worth reaching toward. Imagine the soft crackle of embers, dim and steady, casting a faint glow. It flickers behind your eyelids, warm and comforting. You don't need to chase it anymore. You can simply let it be there, close enough to guide you, far enough to let you rest. Your breath finds its rhythm now, slow and even, like the tide brushing against sand. With every rise and fall of your chest, the world grows quieter, softer, safer. Let the darkness around you feel not empty, but protective. Let the silence settle in, not heavy, but soothing. The night has you, and it isn't letting go. So, as you drift, let yourself believe you're warmed by that fire, cradled in that circle, already part of something larger. And in that comfort, let sleep take you gently, like a hand resting lightly on your shoulder. Good night. Sleep well. End of script. Sweet dreams.